It's C-Doc again.
Well, what do you know? It's another week. It's not Tuesday. No, we took Halloween off, but we're back here Wednesday night. A little bit of what you need. Another episode of It's C-Doc again. Thanks for tuning in. And we're going to have a fun show tonight. And you guys get the double dose because Behind the Bars with JD comes on right after us. So you just hang out at Channel Zero all night and get all kinds of great hip-hop information. Yada, yada, yada. I, of course, am C-Doc. I do not do this alone. Let me introduce my team. First up, she got her start in classic rap radio. Our lady from the heyday of K-Day, Jennifer O. Jenny. Yes, the commissioner.
What's up? What's up?
What's up? How are you?
Hanging in there, you know.
You guys got to be warmer than I am right now. Freezing my ass off.
It was actually like up in the high 80s today.
Oh,
pretty gross.
I woke up with Davey at 6 a.m. and he has to leave out to walk down the street for the bus at 6:55. I put the dogs out at 6 a.m. I looked out, okay. You know, everything looked normal. 6:55, we opened the door for Davey to walk out. There's snow on the ground. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, crazy.
Wow.
Bugged out.
See, that's never happened. That never happening here, ever.
It never rains in Southern California, right?
The worst thing that will ever happen is I'll go out and like the front yard will be frozen.
Yeah, you get that, right?
Or they go, hey, you might want to cover up your bushes and things outside because there's going to be a frost. That's about it.
Yeah. Snow's gone, but
Yeah.
you know, still. We'll check in and ask how it is out in New Jerusalem with our next co-host.
What is this crap? Oh.
Who is one of the hosts and co-founders of a fantastic podcast in his own right, People's Distinctive Travels. Ladies and gentlemen, Ultramag 7.
I thought that's what we were doing.
I don't have any Funko Pops, so.
I'm sure Flatline has one, but you know, our buddy Flav did the national anthem the other day, so.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
I got a little Flavor Flav.
Yes, he did.
He did that.
So
Yeah.
True. He did. What's up, Ultramag?
Chilling. I didn't see any snow, but
that's good.
But you know, I like this time. I like my favorite time of the year is fall. I like,
Me too.
It's not too cold, it's not too hot. It's right there. I like fall.
I do too. I'm a huge
We
fan.
could all move to where my brother is, and that's Alaska.
No?
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
But I know someone who lived there once. I think he did. Yes, he did. Yes. Our final co-host, who is the president of Rap Station Radio and the man behind Hip Hop Gods, ladies and gentlemen, Flatline.
Good evening.
Good
Oh,
evening.
there we go. There we go.
Good evening, sir.
Dueling Flaves.
Dueling Flav.
I like that.
Hi.
Hi. How are things, Flatline?
Good. I lived in Alaska for 3 years, and that was long enough.
There
Yep.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
We got to check in real quick before we bring our guest on. Hip Hop Gods Radio. I know you had a new show last night.
Oh, yes, I did. It was almost all new music.
Almost all new music.
I'll run it down really, really quick.
Yeah, sure.
The Alchemist, RBX featuring Project Pat, Freddie Black featuring Tash and Tone Spliff, Monteo featuring Copyright and Lane Schuler, Cool Keith, Necro and Ill Bill, Sticky Fingers, Tragedy Gaddafi and Demrick Emerald, Chrome featuring Daddy-O, Cool Kim, Chill Rob G, and Aaron Willis of 311, Mr. P Chill, and DJ Shadow.
Goddamn.
Goddamn. It's a lot of new music. A lot of new music by those classic artists.
Yeah.
Yep.
We love it.
Yep.
We love it. Fantastic.
Man, like Cool Keith, he just keeps on dropping. Ultra Mag, have you heard that? The new one is called World Area. It came out last week.
No, but I will be listening to your show and I will hear it.
Yeah.
Bro, it's like what, his 4th album this year or something like that?
It's got, yeah.
Yeah,
what?
something crazy.
And he just drops them without warning.
Yeah.
Wait,
So, Cool Keith.
Cool Keith.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Wait, is that the name of the song or the name of the album?
Name of the album is World Area.
And then he still has the Black Elvis 2 coming out this year. So,
Well, yeah, it's out, right?
Yep.
Or is it out? Yeah, it's too much, not too much music, but a lot of music.
A lot of music.
Yeah.
Cool Keith's been on a tear.
Sunshine said, first of all, hello, hand.
Shahid or Shahid bin Grim.
Oh my.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sunshine said, hello, people. Hello, Sunshine.
Hello, Sunshine.
They had a dusting in Ohio, but it was not nearly enough. She's a big fan of the snow.
Oh, Sunshine, you can have it. Ugh.
Yeah.
All right.
Are we going to, just really quick, can we talk about our sponsor? Because I'm dying to take a drink.
Please.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Yes, please. Our It's the Duck again is brought to you by
Auga.
Auga.
Yeah.
Auga.
Awesome too.
There you
Teddy
go.
Ted, Special K, Hackensack Brewing.
Hackensack Brewing.
So let's get that open.
All right.
Oh, he's doing it live. I love
Yeah,
it.
doing it live right now.
Good taste test.
It's an unboxing
Yep.
of sorts.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
It's an uncanning.
There you go.
It's
great.
The uncanny.
uncanny.
Yes, the uncanny.
Man.
Nice.
Thank you to our sponsor
Yes.
once again, Hackensack Brewing. Thank you to Hackensack Brewing and Mike Jones for sending us out that awesome beer.
Yeah.
Yep.
That awesome 2 beer.
Ah.
See what you did.
Ah,
Well played.
Like that.
Uh-huh.
that's why there's 2 of them.
I'm afraid I'm going to
Yeah.
spill something, but one of them is open, one of them is not. Anyway. Yeah. One of them will probably stay unopened.
Yeah. Gotta keep one for the archive.
Yeah.
Right.
The alcoholic in me drank them both.
Oh, well, you kept the can.
But I can get more.
That's right.
I'm the closest. I can get more.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yes. So, tonight's guest is an author, a publisher, a long distance runner, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We got lots to talk about.
And a female.
Yes.
More
Hey!
Yes. Our fifth guest, lady guest.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, we're getting better. We're getting better.
Mhm.
Okay, offsetting the testosterone on the show. Ladies and
Somebody
gentlemen,
please.
please welcome to the show Julia Beverly.
There she is.
This is quite a crew here.
Oh,
There's a lot of you.
It is.
yeah, it's something.
Yes, there's a few of us. Yeah.
Keeps it interesting.
I thought we were talking about Alaska. Are we not talking about Alaska?
We can, well, because
We
you
can.
book shows in Alaska. If I read correctly.
I
Or you
have.
have?
Yeah. I went to Alaska this summer and the summer before that. Not in wintertime though.
Oh yeah, well, right. Whereabouts in Alaska?
Literally everywhere. Everywhere that you can drive anyway.
Okay.
I didn't used to book a lot of shows up there though. I had a promoter in Anchorage that brought up Slim Thug and Gorilla Zoe and Bun B and
Wow.
a few others I'm forgetting. But I used to tell people that and they would be shocked. Like, there's people in Alaska that like rap.
Yeah.
Flatline was rhyming in Alaska, I believe, right? Didn't you do an open for?
Yeah, I opened for
Cypress Hill?
Cypress Hill and
Yeah.
6. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
So,
So Alaska. Okay. What else about Alaska? No, we don't have to talk about Alaska.
That really is the only thing, but my brother and his wife, they've been there for forever.
Is that your brother with Beatles records?
Yes.
Yes.
And he was in the Navy for 24 some odd years in a nuclear submarine. And when he retired, he was like, I want to go somewhere where there's nobody because he was in a nuclear submarine for all of that time. And he just take me somewhere where I don't have to deal with anybody.
But dream as well is to not interact with anyone about half of the time, and then I come back to civilization.
Right.
Yeah. See, but oddly enough, he said to me when they were here visiting, he said, "So that show that you do, why do I know that man's name?" And I said, "Chuck D." Well, because he says, "Oh, the guy with the clock."
Yep, the guy with the clock.
Yeah, he's been gone too long. He needs to come back.
Yes. Yep. There you go. Julia, how are things?
Awesome.
Fantastic. I got to meet you a couple weeks ago in Cincinnati. You were moderating a panel.
Yes, and I was joking about it because I didn't know they were going to bring Chuck D out and then bring me out. It should have been the other way around. But I told them it was a tough act to follow. Everybody was there to see him. But yeah, it was good. It was a great panel. I'm glad I was able to do that.
Yeah, it was fun. It was cool. I hadn't seen Chuck. I talk to him all the time, but I hadn't seen him speaking in a while, so that's always a blast.
Well, I was all nervous about it, like preparing questions and stuff, and I think I got through like 2 questions during the hour that they had slotted. He kind of just took it and ran with it, so I didn't have to do that much. It was easy.
Yep, he makes it easy. So
he sure does. Yes, he does.
So let's go back and talk. You have a fascinating story. How did you get into hip hop in the first place? What was your formative hip hop experience?
Yeah, this I'm dying to hear.
My hip hop origin story.
Yes.
So in a nutshell, I did not go to school until I was about 14, 15, like a real school. I was homeschooled. My first real, so all of a sudden I'm in like a public school that's like a little wild. And so it's like I just get plopped down into the real world. Like, here's what it's like. And the only class I really liked was my art class. And the teacher was real cool. He let us play music and stuff like that. And so it was like the one class during the week that you actually look forward to. I think it was like twice a week or something like that. But the guy who sat next to me brought in the ATLiens Outkast album. And that album had a comic strip in it that was drawn by D.L. Warfield, who actually I have some artwork in an art gallery with him now. So I thought that was cool, like a full circle moment, actually with his original sketches from that album. But this guy who sat next to me, brought the album in because he was going to try to draw the comic book characters. He was actually a pretty good artist, but so he had this album that the teacher let us play it, and I'm not comprehending like that this is hip hop music or what you would even call this thing, but that album in particular, they have a lot of like really cool like somebody diving in the water and you hear the splash and you hear the helicopters overhead and like a lot of, really great, like, I don't know what you would even call it, but it's a very audio. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but we know what
you're trying to say. Yes.
Yeah. It has a lot of like really
immersive. It's immersive audio.
That you can picture it where you're there. And so that was the first thing I think that drew me in. And then I really got into that album, started listening to Outkast, Tupac, and that was kind of the definitely made a change in my life as far as like what direction I ended up going. So that's how I fell in love with hip hop. I say is that Outkast, ATLiens album. And then later, years later, when I was publishing a magazine, we end up in Atlanta with our studio across the street or our office across the street rather from Outkast Studio. So just to be going home from work and seeing, Andre 3000 just hanging out, walking across the street, like stuff like that was definitely cool to feel like I had, become a part of this whole movement, and, getting to see them reunited at Centennial Park in Atlanta was a big deal a couple years back, and I got to shoot that. So yeah, that's kind of my introduction to hip hop, and it's been a fun journey since then. Like we're joking about Alaska, but like literally hip hop has taken me to Australia and Malaysia and, all over Europe and like places I never would have thought, Hong Kong and Alaska, where people are really into hip hop. I started traveling with some artists as, doing content creation and like later booking shows and things like that. So hip hop has quite literally taken me, all over the world, and it's been a fun ride for sure.
Where did you grow up?
Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
Although my family kind of moved around a lot, so I kind of had the West Coast experience for a couple years, Chicago for a short time, New York for a short time, but I went to school and everything in Florida. So
gotcha.
That was where I started Ozone Magazine. Ozone is a Orlando thing, Orlando reference. So that was my entering into the hip hop industry. I was very young back then, 19, 20 when I started. So
you were 19 or 20 when you started Ozone?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy. I was looking at it online, and the magazine's incredible. You guys had everybody involved, all the major players.
Yeah, I mean it's been quite a while now. We published from 2002 to 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But originally, when I started it, it was like an Orlando thing. It was like went from Orlando to Florida, and then it became the South, and kind of just coincided with the Southern explosion on the music side. So it was more just me being kind of in the right place at the right time. I don't know that I had any great foresight of being like, oh, Southern rap is going to explode, but that's kind of what happened as I was traveling around and going to all these events and meeting a lot of people. And I was the only one documenting this stuff back then. Like I remember, going to shows and just seeing 2,500 people rapping along with these songs. And I would be kind of looking around like, why isn't the Source here? Why isn't XXL here? Like, am I missing something that do people not want to, know about this? So the fact that I was kind of the only one documenting that movement during that time, I was just in the right place at the right time to document that part of the culture. And when I had first started, it was, wanting to get a job at these publications. I remember like leaving messages at XXL, like, don't you guys need some help? I had thought that somebody was going to see my photography and be like, let's hire you to work for this, this big magazine. And it didn't happen that way. But after time and a few things happened that kind of showed me like you're going in the right direction. I don't know that there was any one magic moment, but over time I just started seeing that there was a real audience for what we were covering, and maybe we can even be a competitor to these publications. I don't know that we ever were like not like we were going to put the Source or XXL out of business, but like we definitely started to get some of those same advertisers and became a legitimate part of the media sphere. So
right. Were you always into photography?
Yeah, I mean, even when I was a kid, I used to take like thousands of pictures on little disposable cameras, and I had a job at Eckerd's Photo Lab that I would work like 2 hours a month just so I could develop film for free. Yeah, I've always been just loved taking pictures of everything for whatever reason. So that was kind of my entree into the world of hip hop, and I started writing more out of necessity than anything else because I didn't really have a budget to hire people. It was like, okay, I guess I can do it. But I think early on, I had wrote a couple articles early on that got a really strong reaction out of people, and it was kind of like, oh, like this is, maybe I could do this too. So I started writing through publishing Ozone. I still don't think I'm like the greatest writer. I'm not the greatest photographer, but I don't think that there's a lot of people who have the well-rounded skill set that I have. And part of that is just from being a small publisher and not really having, I don't have a budget to hire people to do this. So I'm going to have to learn, I'm going to have to do my own taxes, or I'm going to have to, if you can't afford to pay somebody to do all these things, you're gonna have to figure it out yourself. So
Yeah.
for me, it was a good way of learning a really well-developed skill set, you could say.
Right. So you didn't get any responses from these other publications, so you're like, oh, I'm just going to start a magazine. Is that basically how it happened?
I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that. And I did start, I definitely did some freelance stuff for The Source and Vibe later on. And I met Boo Rosario from The Source early on at Impact. So I started sending him stuff and they would assign me little projects here and there. But I think by that time I had started to see that there was real potential for what Ozone was doing. And
yeah,
I was really just focused on making that even bigger. But the beginning story of Ozone, there was a publication called Orlando Source, which is kind of hilarious because the publisher, his name is Mert. He went by Mert Design. He was a graphic designer, but he was the guy that did all the party flyers and everybody's album cover. He actually did Kaya's the My Neck, My Back album. He was like in our office. So somebody had told me that he was starting a publication because he did all these flyers. And so his idea was like, let's make it a magazine. I can upsell, it was just an upsell for him to charge his clients to be in this publication. And he didn't really have a desire to do much as far as like on the editorial side. And he wasn't, he just wanted to sell ads basically. So somebody had recommended me to go meet with him. I was really young. Again, I was like 19 at the time and trying to get into photography. And I remember him getting me a pass for like some radio concert. It was like Ja Rule or, I think Ja Rule and somebody else was performing. But I remember going to this radio show and they had this big tent backstage with the catering. And I was like broke, like 19 and broke. And I was like, oh, I get food for this? Like, okay. The music industry, like free food, you're always joking that that's like part of the incentive. So I get this huge plate of food. I probably try to take some home. Interview Ja Rule and all this. So when I gave him the photos, I actually did I was just experimenting with Photoshop. So I did like a whole spread of rather than just giving him the images, I did a whole spread of like a photo gallery with little captions and stuff. And so he says, well, this is great. Like, do you want to do the layout for this? They were working on the second issue of Orlando Source, which the first one, he took the Source logo and just put Orlando. And I was like, I don't think you could do that. I think you probably need a new logo. So
right.
We had a designer that worked there. CJ was his like graphic designer, and CJ was just like massively overworked, and he was like, I'm not going to do this whole magazine. Like, you need to find somebody else. So that was, I come in and he said, well, I'll pay you by the hour. So I remember that second issue, he sat behind me the entire time. And it was like a 24-hour, like it was like we started at like noon, it went to like noon the next day type of thing. And he sat behind me the whole time, like the entire time. And then he had to pay me by the hour. And so I didn't realize this till later, but later on, I'm looking back at it, and after he pays me for this issue, he's like, why don't you just be my partner? So I'm like, oh, I'm getting offered to be a partner, but he just didn't want to pay me by the hour anymore. So I don't think I ever got paid again after that. So, we did this for a year, Orlando Source Magazine. So I was the creative side and he would sell the ads. And so he would come to me and say, well, we didn't make any money again, but what can you do? And then I would find out later that, they're paying him $800 for an ad, and he's telling me that they paid him $400 or whatever. So it was basically, it turned into an unpaid internship is kind of how I look at it.
Gotcha.
Things kind of deteriorated after a year. He did the Orlando Source Awards, which is pretty ballsy now that I look back and think on it. I think he did get a cease and desist at some point.
He must have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the Orlando Source Awards, but he turned the whole production over to this guy that I really didn't like, and he was, I just felt very I was not involved at all in the award show process. Meanwhile, I'm the person that everybody knows is like running around interviewing everybody, doing all this stuff for the magazine. So he tells me, well, we're not going to do the magazine anymore. And I had a friend, Mercedes, who worked with us, was like our street team person. And she was like, well, I told her I was going to do one last issue because I've done all this content. I'm not just going to throw this away. We got to do one more issue. And she said, well, just change the name. So Ozone started. So it was definitely
Wow.
a spin-off of Orlando Source magazine. But I think we had very different visions of what it could be, and I started to think about it as being much more than just an Orlando publication. And the interesting thing I saw was that we had a very limited budget, so we would put 50 issues in this city and see what kind of reaction we got. And I remember one of the early issues, like I put all these boxes in Miami. And, Miami has 3 radio stations and, all these other publications. So it didn't have as much of an impact. Whereas if I put 50 issues in Tampa or Birmingham, I'm getting like 50 phone calls from people who are like, I need to be in this magazine, whether it's people from the radio station or DJs or, artists. And so that really, I really started to see that there was a market for what we were doing. Was, people did not have outlets. This is, of course, you didn't have Twitter, you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have Instagram. A lot of artists were getting, some traction with their music, but nobody knew what they looked like, or, as far as branding themselves as an artist, they really didn't have the platforms that they have now. So that's kind of where Ozone came in. I think Rick Ross said that on a record. Actually, he's like, Ozone was, Instagram before Instagram, because we were kind of just on the scene, this is who's hot, this is who's doing this, and so people would see, oh, that's what Plies, looks like. I heard his mixtape, so we definitely played a role in breaking a lot of artists during that time, whether it was, Rick Ross and Pitbull and Slim Thug and that whole, Texas movement. There were a lot of artists who were kind of on the verge of breaking through nationally, but they needed that extra little push. So, I've been blessed that a lot of those artists, like still to this day, Rick Ross will, if he sees me at an event that he did something for Pandora or something like that recently, and, will point me out and be like, they gave me an opportunity. So, artists will definitely remember the people who helped them like early on and acknowledge. So I still have a lot of those relationships from early on. Like I said, I was able to parlay a lot of that into booking shows. So I ended up, touring with Flow Rider. I've gone to Europe with Rick Ross and, Trey Songz, and like a lot of these artists that I've interacted with early on, later on would take me on tours or, I would help book shows and stuff for them. So even after I stopped publishing Ozone, which it really didn't, print media after a certain point just really didn't make sense. I think more because of timing than anything else, because anything you can put in a magazine, you're not going to see for 2 months at least. So in our news cycle today, anything you post more than 24 hours later is basically old. So I just don't see a real path for print media today. And I mean, just the numbers didn't make sense in 2010 or 11 when we put out our last issue. But I was able to parlay a lot of those artist relationships and industry relationships into a lot of other things since then. So
yeah, wow. Well, that's crazy. I didn't realize that it ran for 8 years, kind of at that time, when I went back and checked, because you were right, kind of right at the end of where magazines were a thing, you had a couple of years in there before the print media just started dying off. But I guess you got in there right, like you said, right at the right time.
Yeah, it would have been nice if we had a couple more years, but no, we had a good run. I think it accomplished what it should have in that time period. And it was kind of always a Southern pride kind of thing. Like we definitely were treated as kind of the redheaded stepchildren of the industry. And so just to kind of earn that respect and, to see where everybody ended up, and a lot of those artists did go on to do big things and get that respect in the industry. I felt like I played some role in that. So it was a good thing.
What facilitated the move to Atlanta?
I was just always going back and forth, and at a certain point it just made sense. And I always say that I think a big part of the reason why Atlanta blew up the way it did is because of the real estate. And I'm not really joking. I'm really being kind of serious, because a lot of artists came from Memphis or Miami or Texas or wherever, because they could get a 5-bedroom house with a basement for $200,000 or whatever. It's not really quite as sweet as it used to be.
Right.
But a lot of artists ended up in Atlanta because it was where all the music events were taking place, and then also they could get this huge house and put their studio in the basement and still be spending less money than they probably would spend at home. But at the time when I was coming up, I mean, there was just a lot happening with I did a lot of stuff with like Little John's label BME early on, would always bring me up for video shoots. And one of the things I always liked about the South, and this is not exclusive to Atlanta, but Texas and Miami, if I would travel to Houston or something to go to an artist video shoot, everybody in the city would come out. So you'd have the opportunity to network with all these DJs and all these other artists. And, in one place, everybody would come out and support each other. And that was definitely the case early on in Atlanta, where it would just be, I'd be driving around to all the record labels and somebody would say, hey, did you hear about this happening? And I'd go to, I didn't know who Sierra was at the time. I go to Sierra's video shoot and, Jeezy pulls up and I met him and interviewed him. And, here's Boys in the Hood and Jody Breeze. And, like everybody was kind of congregating in these places. And so it just made sense at the time to be in Atlanta.
Gotcha.
So I'm literally an AT. I think that's what an ATLian is, right? It's like,
right.
I'm not one of the originals. Like there's definitely, a crowd of like the ATL people who really built it in the 90s. So I wasn't a part of that story, but I'm a transplanted ATLian at this point. So.
That's dope. What did I'm guessing then, or what made you decide to do the Ozone Awards? Was it because the Orlando Source Awards went so well? Is that what's like?
I don't remember the thinking behind that. I mean, I think it was. It definitely was. The everybody had awards, the Source Awards, and they had the BET. Yeah, they had the BET Awards back then. I mean, I think even then there was a sense in our crowd that they were being excluded from some of these functions. I mean, I remember Jeezy I think Jeezy won the first Ozone Award, and he was like, I didn't get a BET Award, but I got an Ozone Award. And he was like, this is for the streets. So we were like kind of the, scrappy upstart, like just trying to be, raw and authentic. And that first Ozone Awards, I really need to do like a documentary or something on that, because that was a crazy time. I would have to do a documentary because I really don't remember that much, because it was insane. The third Ozone Awards, I did not sleep for 110 hours. I think that was my record. I used to actually keep track.
Wow.
First Ozone Awards. Yeah, it was similar. I mean, I don't really remember a lot from those weekends because it was just, I didn't realize when you watch the BET Awards, I had seen these award shows and stuff, and I went to the Source Awards and I would see, the editors on the red carpet. So I'm not comprehending that they like farm out the work, like they're hiring a production company to do this. So we just thought like, oh, we can do it. And I partnered with TJ's DJ. So it was a 4-day weekend of events that we did. We did Orlando the first year, Miami, and then Houston. And, TJ ran a record pool in Tallahassee, and he had much more of an infrastructure of having like staff and volunteers. And so he helped with a lot of that. But as far as like producing the awards, it was, I don't want to, sound like not trying to like downplay what other people did, because we had maybe 5 people on staff, but it was like I produced it basically. And so when you have 25 major artists like flying in for a 4-day weekend, and you're coordinating travel and logistics, and like it was insanity, literally. So the fact that even happened was kind of miraculous. But we had that first year. I mean, we had Ludacris came and filmed his MTV Diary, I think, there. T-Pain, Plies. That was the first time most people ever heard of Plies, because he was huge at that time, but he wasn't signed or anything. Rick Ross, DJ Khaled, UGK, Pimp and Bun together for the first time. Lil Wayne, like anybody you could think of in Southern rap came and performed at that show. And I remember like, I think it was Lil Jon texted me afterwards and was like, "Oh, everybody's been telling me like I should have been there. Or, I heard it was good." I'm getting like feedback from, and Bun gets up to get his award, and he's like, "Honestly, he said something like, I didn't really want to come to this shit. Like I thought it was gonna be a mess, kind of thing." And he was like, "No, this is actually, I'm glad we put this together. Like this is for the South. This is for us." So the fact that I had like kind of OGs in the game that were like, co-signing it. And at the time, I mean, looking back now, it's kind of crazy because I was like 25, like to be a 25-year-old white girl, basically just trying to put the show together and all the stuff that we had to deal with, just from a production standpoint, that I had no idea what I was walking into, this is like something that production companies spend a year putting together with a full staff. We did this in like 3 months or something. Like it was really insane. And but yeah, that was good times. So
I was watching an interview with you, and you were talking about when Pimp C got out, he had his Motorola Razr. And then I watched, the awards, and I see him on stage, and he's walking around rhyming, showing his Motorola Razr. I'm like, oh, this is hilarious.
He really had a thing for phones. I was never a Razr person. I don't know, but he wasn't even. Yeah, he hadn't committed to performing. We didn't even know that was going to happen. And then he ended up getting on stage and bringing Jeezy. Jeezy comes out, and it was a very organic like thing that we couldn't have really planned. But yeah, Pimp showed a lot of love to everything that I was doing, and I think he saw it as a good partnership because he had been locked up for I believe 4 years at that time, and so there was a new generation of people who maybe weren't as familiar with UGK and all the history that the foundation he had laid in the 90s. So it was a good partnership for him to be exposed to an Ozone audience and vice versa. And I mean, he was like a regular contributor. Like he would do a column every month. He would call me and rant about whatever he wanted to talk about. And,
Wow.
He had even asked me to manage him at one point. I kind of forgot that until I went back and was researching some stuff when I wrote his book, and kind of looking back and being like, wow, maybe I didn't fully take advantage of all these, opportunities. Like he wanted me to put tours together, and it was like, I'm trying to publish a magazine and produce an award show. There's a lot. I would joke about it because that's for a long time, that was like my bar of, I'd get to the airport and the escalator's down and I have to like carry all my heavy bags down the stairs, and I'm like, well, I did the Ozone Awards, like I could do this. Like, it would be like there's nothing that could top, trying to coordinate 25 artists' schedules and 2,500, DJs attending and like that kind of thing. It was
right. Yeah, you earned your stripes big time.
Yes.
Yeah. When did you decide to start Agency 12?
That was kind of just born out of the relationships that I had with the magazine. I started that, I believe, like 2008. I started really before I stopped publishing the magazine, and I started to see that was a conflict in some ways. Dealing with artists on show bookings, and you're dealing with like a lot of cash, and like it's a very dirty business. Like I don't think I knew the extent that I was, what I was getting myself into. But early on, we would kind of we would do like Ozone events, and artists would come and give us a little discount on their show, or we would arrange something with the venue. We did like a big event in Vegas, I think, that year, and we brought in like a dozen artists for this new club that was opening up. And people used to just call me because I had a lot of contacts, and I was always kind of the person with the Rolodex, so to speak. And I've had people call me like, hey, do you have like Drake's, I'm making this up, but Drake's makeup artist cousin's security guard's number, and I would be like, why do I have that? Why would I have that? And I would look at my phone and be like, oh yeah, here it is. I've kind of just accumulated a lot of contacts. So I would always get people calling me and saying, how can I book this artist, or how can I, what club is hot in Birmingham? And I would know who those people were and just connect them and be the middleman or middlewoman. So I still have Agency 12. I've been doing that for quite a while. It's kind of transitioned more. I get a lot more requests for, TV stuff and podcasts and things like that. But a lot of venues in different parts of the world, like we talked about before, Alaska, Hong Kong, Australia, places like that, they don't know, how do you legitimately get Lil Wayne to come to a show in, South Africa or whatever. It's unfortunately, it can be a very like fraud-filled business. This guy says that he can book, 2 Chainz or whatever, but if you send him your money, you may never hear from him again. So the fact that I have a good client base and people can vouch for me that, it's legitimate, like that definitely goes a long way in this crazy field of artist bookings and stuff. So things have changed a little bit recently with festivals, and it's a little bit of a different landscape like post-COVID as far as show bookings, but still in that booking space.
So Pimp C was a regular contributor to the magazine, and what was the impetus for you to say, you know what, I'm gonna write the book, his story?
It was kind of like an idea that just had floated around in my head a little bit because I had so much, number one, because I had a lot of access to him. I mean, he always would tell me like, I don't talk to journalists, but or he would say media people. I don't talk to any media people. I'll talk to you. And so I had a lot of, interviews, even stuff that I had never really put out. And then aside from that, what is this message we're getting of?
Oh, that's somebody commented.
Like, is this a question? Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Pimp C, also, I just felt like, to people in the South, he represented something a lot bigger than, maybe what he was getting in the mainstream press, because we had seen everything that was done for Biggie and for Tupac and kind of how they were, of course, not saying that they didn't deserve it, but like I felt like he also was on that level for the way that a lot of people perceived him, and maybe that he hadn't gotten that same recognition. And the more I thought about it, it was like, well, if anyone was going to do this, like I would be the person, because not only did I, know him, but I was also very close to, like, we had a lot of mutual, friends in the industry and things like that. Like if anybody could get to all these people, it would be me. So it was just an idea at the time. And I talked to Bun about it. And originally I talked to his wife, and I went to meet with his mom. And I was kind of like nervous, I took her out to eat, and, just said, hey, let's, meet at this restaurant. I'm like kind of nervous walking into this meeting. Like I have this whole pitch together, because I had never met his mom before. And as soon as I, pitched the idea, she was like, okay, like, let's do it. And then come to find out, she was not only she was also his mom, obviously, but she was also their manager for quite a while. So she was very close. She was literally the one that was like driving them to shows and collecting the show money and arguing with club owners. And like, so she was really she wasn't like just some, old lady sitting around. Like she really was in the mix and really had a lot of information. And she was a librarian previously. So she understood, the makings of a good book and a good story. And I would ask her questions about stuff, and she would remember like vivid details from stuff, 20, 30 years ago. And so from the very first conversation with her, it was very clear, like, okay, she's the person to collaborate with on this. And then I didn't really know this until much later, but she told me that, her son had spoken very highly of me, like, even years prior, like they had a lot of conversations about me. She knew who I was. So the fact that her son had already, had a relationship with me, and she knew about it and trusted me and things like that, it just made sense to partner on it. So that was a great experience working with her.
What was it? from a perspective of going from publishing a magazine to actually writing a book, was it a daunting task for you to, or I mean, it sounds like you had organized bigger things than that, so maybe not.
No, writing is a challenge for sure. I mean, I think that the book definitely, that was my first big writing project, first book. Definitely made me a better writer, to force yourself to like sit down and do something long form like that. Because I'm not really a writer. I really consider myself more like a visual, photographer. So writing is a challenge, and it's difficult, and it's not something that I can do all the time. But like I can get in my mode and do it. But it's it's like recording an album or something. Like you can't just put like 2 hours on the schedule and be like, okay, I'm going to record an album right now. Like the mood has to be right. You got to get in that creative, getting in that creative flow. And actually it's funny because that's when I started traveling a lot too. And I've always found a good balance between being like sort of locked down in the studio, so to speak, or locked down working on a project. I could do that for a short time, and then I have to travel somewhere, and it kind of, the change of scenery will kind of spark that creativity. And so during the time I was writing the book, I also was flying to Alaska with Slim Thug and going to Malaysia with Flow Rider, and like kind of going on these trips that would kind of give me a new perspective on things. And I feel like when you're home or you're in one place, you kind of tend to get tunnel vision, and it can get kind of like depressing sometimes. And so when I go sit on a plane for 12 hours and see the sunset or whatever, it just gives you that sense of like possibility. Like there's so much else out here that I could be doing. So it inspires me to be like, okay, let me go finish this. So with that said, it took me 5 years to write the book. And so it was in spurts where I would work on it for a couple of weeks, and then I'd be off on a tour or something, or, biking around Australia or whatever. And then I come back home and work. So eventually it did get done. It took a while, but yeah.
What is that? Billy Bong Thornton focused.
What's up, metalheads? Metalheads in the house with some interesting commentary. Okay. So, I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you a question.
Well, I'll ask a question.
Please do. Go ahead.
I want to know if there's a book of your photography in the works, possibly.
There is, yes. I did about half of it, and yeah, I really should have finished it during the COVID quarantine, but I didn't. That would have been the time to like finish it, but it is going to get finished at some point. And nice. Yeah, I think the hardest thing is just narrowing it down, because I have 20 plus years of stuff now, and then also it's kind of like, where is the end point? Because you don't, maybe COVID will be the end point, but then even now, like I just shot some great stuff this weekend at One Music Fest. So it's like, where do I shot the vice president's, 50 years of hip hop at the vice president's home. Like,
wow.
Stuff like that. So for me, it's like I'm always creating new content, and so it's hard to put where does it end?
Yeah.
Volume 1, volume 2, volume
right.
Out there.
Yeah.
That's definitely an idea. Yeah. But it is.
And then let me just run with this real quick, because you have all these connections with the artist. So you and this is kind of a Chuck D idea, but you reach out to the artists and you have the artist do a soundtrack for the book.
Yes. Yeah.
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. That's totally a Chuck D idea. Yeah. we stole it from him. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a lot of great stuff. You're right. I need to finish it. I need to get serious about it. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I have lots of good stories, like behind the scenes stories of how this all came together, and but like half of them are like me sneaking into some concert that I didn't have a pass for, and like maneuvering past security and that kind of thing.
Did you ever get caught?
I've been kicked out of a couple events. Yeah, it didn't happen too often, but there is one there's one story that I wrote about for the book. That's I was trying to get into this 50 Cent party, and this is in Vegas, and it's like that meme where the you're like, come to the door and get me, and there's like 1,000 people waiting or whatever. So long story short, it was like, you're not getting into this party. And I had a camera, and the security's like, there's no cameras in here. So I'm like upset that I'm not getting into this party, and I go walk in the casino, and I'm like, I might have had a two-way back then. Like, this is a long time ago. And so I'm like walking in the casino, like on my two-way or BlackBerry or something. And all of a sudden I just feel people around me, like walking really fast. Like I was about to get run over. And so I just start walking with them. I put my hand on the guy in front of me, and we're like walking. And we go straight into this other venue. And I look up, and it's Jamie Foxx is in front of me. And I'm like in his entourage, like, and Kanye was performing, and T-Pain. So we just walked straight into the VIP. And I truly believe I can be invisible. Sometimes, like, I think I have this. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's happened a few times where I've just walked in places and nobody said anything to me. And so I'm kind of looking around like, wow, I'm like in the front row with my camera, and that was so easy. Like, how did that happen?
That's a really hard experience as a white woman in hip hop.
Yeah, I mean,
it's really difficult.
And I have the pictures to prove it. Yeah.
Wow.
I did that at the Source Awards too with the Yin Yang twins. I just walked in between them, and nobody asked me for a ticket. So
maybe you thought you were the triplet. You were the third.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, that's you're not wrong in some circumstances. I always say if you wear a headpiece with the little, little wire, or if you carry a clipboard, like you can walk in almost anywhere.
Right.
Have to walk with a purpose.
Yep.
You're supposed to be there. It works about half the time.
Yeah. Yep. Because people won't ask. They just
I don't like to give up too many of my secrets, but that does work a lot of times. Flashlight and a headpiece, and yeah, you're good.
How did you get involved on working on Jay Prince's book?
I've always had a good relationship with Jay through the Ozone days when we were publishing the magazine. Of course, Rap-A-Lot had a ton of stuff coming out. I think they had just done their deal with Asylum, if I'm remembering correctly. Asylum through, I don't know, Warner Brothers or something like that. So there was a point in time where they were releasing a lot of stuff. They were also involved, I think, with the Swisher House deal. So when you had 2005, 2006, a lot of music coming out of Texas, I was always out there in Houston. And Jay's I've always appreciated like just being able to spend time around him, because he's funny to me that he's not the person who's gonna give you a lot of pointed advice about stuff, but he will let you like observe how he's handling situations and kind of like soak up some game that way type of thing. And because that's how I learn best. Like I don't really want somebody to like stand over me and be like, what you should do is this. He's not that guy, but he'll let you like hang around. And so I've definitely seen a lot of interesting business scenarios go down, like just being able to spend time with him. So being who he was in the industry, I recognize hey, for him to allow me to like be in a lot of these rooms and see a lot of these conversations, like he must see something worthwhile in what I'm doing. So we had a relationship, going back to the Ozone days. And I think when he saw what I did with the Pimp C book, because I actually published that myself, I got turned down by hundreds of, literary agents and publishers were like, who is Pimp C? I've never heard of this guy. So I put it out myself. And he had an opportunity to put a book out through a traditional publisher and just, get in advance, and kind of wanted to see what the options were. So I think when we talked about it early on, it was like, Rap-A-Lot has always been independent. You could just put this out yourself. You don't have to go through a publisher and give up a portion of your anytime you accept money from somebody, of course, you're giving up some level of control. And so I think that made sense to him, with his background, it made sense to do it independently. So what I did with his book was kind of create a publishing arm of Rap-A-Lot specifically for the book. And the book did really well. Publishers Weekly best-selling list and all that. And we did a promotional run for it, which coincided nicely with Pusha T and Drake and whatever they had going on. So everybody wanted to talk to Drake. So we did like a 2-week promo run that turned into like 30 days. It turned into like 90 days. And, so to be able to go, I took him to Cleveland and Cincinnati and Oakland and like, places that really, they don't get a lot of, big names just coming to youth centers to speak to kids and stuff like that. Like we were really on the ground, like, and he would go, any legitimate venue, even if it wasn't thousands of people, we would go do, like I said, like youth centers in Oakland and Cincinnati and places like that, or Cleveland rather, brought us to some kind of like social center in the community where it was a couple dozen people, but like really impactful as far as the type of people that were there were like really active in the community. And so to be able to bring him to places like that was a great experience as well. Just being able to travel with him. And he talks in the book about how he only eats like one meal a day. And I didn't really know like how I thought he was like kind of, exaggerating a little bit until we actually started touring. And I eat all the time. So, we go do radio at 6 a.m. and then we got another interview at 7 and then another interview at 9 and like it's like 11. And I'm like, you guys don't want to stop somewhere and order something? I'm like, we're really going to go all day like this. And so that was the one thing about traveling with him. I had to learn to order my own DoorDash and all that. But you don't get anything to eat till 10 p.m.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Other than that, it was a great experience.
Right. Okay, so like I said at the top of the show, you're a long distance runner.
You could say that. I mean, I'm not fast or anything.
It was part of one of the bios I read. I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. But it said you traveled and run in all these interesting places.
Yes, that is in my bio. Yeah, I did the Iceland half marathon. I did the Great Wall of China half marathon. Where else have I ran? Yeah, I used to be big into marathons. I'm a little older now. I had a little injury. I do like 10Ks and stuff like that now. Marathons are a bit much. I biked across the country and ran the New York City Marathon a week later and could not get out of bed for about 4 days. I would never do that again. But yeah, I'm into testing the limits, see how far you can take this thing. So I biked across the country in 2016. I biked across Spain and the United Kingdom, and that was I'm still kind of into cycling, but that was my big cycling kick. I'm always into some kind of new thing. I swam from the halfway from Alcatraz to the shore in San Francisco last summer. So it was my thing of the moment.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
I feel so lazy right now. Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
I was going to say me tripping out of tripping down the stairs out of the back door here.
Yeah. I'm lucky if I can walk halfway to the refrigerator right now. So, that's how I feel. Wow. Okay. No, that's fantastic. That's amazing.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Wow.
Okay. So
it doesn't coincide with the rap thing too well.
Oh, well, yeah, but it also
I just did a 10 miler last week, and it was I skipped the 21 Savage birthday party because I didn't want to be out till 4 a.m. and then be at the race at 5. Because I've done that before in the snow. I did that one year actually. Lil Wayne Super Bowl party went to like 4, and then I went and ran the Disney half marathon at like right from the club, and that's I could do that in my 20s, but yeah, I have to go to sleep now.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. And you have to eat too. So you're hanging out with Jay Prince and things go right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they say, I just want your take on this, Julia. They say hip hop is not selling like it was. It's on the downslope. We were talking about this last couple weeks. Good or bad? How do you see it?
The music is not that good. Also,
Thank you.
Well, my opinion, honestly, is more from a booking agent perspective. I'm not going to say any names, but there's well, yeah. How can I say this without incriminating anyone? I'm not speaking about anyone in particular, but some artists have complained, like, "Hey, we're not getting booked like we used to, or whatever. You're charging too much money. That's why." Like, I've seen a lot of money turned down. And bottom line, like they've just outpriced themselves from a lot of markets. Like there used to be a whole, I wouldn't even call it a chitlin circuit is the wrong term, but like there was a time where, artists could really make a pretty good living doing like medium-sized clubs in Tallahassee and Jacksonville and Birmingham and places like that. And they've completely outpriced a lot of those markets where you can only, the numbers that you want, the only people who are going to be able to pay you that are festivals and maybe Vegas and Miami, but you're really like limiting the places that you can go. And then also what you want as an artist is you want the promoters bringing you to make money, because then they're going to bring you back. So when you see artists who have a long career in this, they're charging reasonable enough prices that you can make money off of them. Whereas, if you have a hit single and you immediately start charging $100,000, you might get that for like a few months, but you're not going to get that for 20 years. You're not going to have a long shelf life. So that's from an economic standpoint of what I see as a booking agent, like that's a big part of it as well. But yeah, the music is not, and you never want to be like that old person who's like, yeah, I don't like the new music. But yeah, I don't like, there's not a lot of new rap that I really listen to. You know what I mean? So
yeah. No, we were saying we think it's actually a good thing, and that it'll kind of,
it's a renaissance.
A renaissance. Yes, thank you, Ultramag. Yes,
it can be. Yeah, it could thin out. It's definitely oversaturated from all angles. Not only the artists, but content creators and photographers, and like there's too many of us. So at a certain point, it's going to thin out. So. It can be a good thing for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Go-to albums. Obviously, you mentioned Outkast and ATLiens being a big thing.
Yeah, like go-to albums of all time, like stuff I would just never get tired of listening to. Definitely Outkast, ATLiens, Fugees, Lauryn Hill, Miseducation. And I wish that like we have a lot of female rappers out now, but they're not Miseducation rappers. Like
they sure are.
Shout out to Nikki D for calling that out.
I'm not WAP or whatever. Like it doesn't connect the same way that like a Miseducation connects.
Yeah,
it's not even the same. Can you even say it's the same genre?
Not the same sport.
Can we not? Can we not even? Can we just pretend like no?
Yeah, like the Tupac Machiavelli album.
Yeah, there you
that's
go.
Another one. I don't really buy albums anymore. I listen to individual songs.
You can give us some songs. You feel good songs or something like, what, I need to chill out, or I'm going to put this on. Anything like that?
I have a friend who's like super into soca music, and so she's got me into all this Caribbean stuff. I listen to a lot of like Spanish music too, because I have no idea what they're saying, and so it's like less offensive. I'm sure they're talking about the same stuff as rappers in English.
Are we talking about Bad Bunny?
I'm like Daddy Yankee and Farruko and those guys. I really listen to like recently I'm more into like almost EDM stuff like Avicii and I love Avicii. That's like my cycling soundtrack is Avicii. So, current rap, I don't even know.
No, it's okay. It's okay. That's why I was asking, I like to get an idea of stuff. Like, mine changes daily, so I can't even tell you, but I'm just curious if some people have certain things that they, old favorites that they immediately go to. So
Yeah, I mean, my music taste is like all over the place. If you randomly pull something up, who knows? But definitely been on the Caribbean and EDM tip more so like in recent years. So I'm kind of interested to see if that picks up more. Like it has been, but I'm kind of interested to see where it goes next, because it does seem like at 50 years of hip hop, we're kind of due for like some kind of so.
Yes.
Curious to see where that goes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, what did you think about the whole 50 year? I mean, I know it was very New York centric, but
well, it's a bit of overkill at this point. Like, are we doing this all year? I mean, I guess we're doing this all year. I don't know. I mean, it's been good. I feel like it's been a lot of opportunities for people, including myself. Like I've been in all these like art gallery, I've been getting asked to participate in all these panels and stuff. And it's like, wow, there's a lot, happening. I'm sure that, Big Daddy Kane and KRS-One are, happy to be getting booked on all these festivals and stuff like that. So, in that sense, it's good to see a lot of the, people who help build the foundation, like getting that respect. So, but it is, at this point, it's kind of like everybody doesn't have to be a Doritos 50 years of hip hop.
Right.
I'm making that up, but I mean, there probably is a Doritos.
It probably is.
Yeah.
Did you feel like, excuse me, did you feel like the South, we'll say in your case, the South, or because we had talked about other regions being underrepresented with all the 50 years of hip hop, Yeah,
I mean, when they first scheduled whatever they did in New York, that was like the 50 years of hip hop, I definitely felt like that kind of like wasn't for, like, that's not for me. Like, am I invited, or, right. And I think Uncle Luke kind of spoke out on that he felt like some of the Southern artists weren't being represented. So I don't know, maybe we need to have a 50 years of Southern rap.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know where you would pinpoint that date, but it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
You got a job ahead of you, Julia.
Right? I think she just walked into that one.
Yeah.
What would be the beginning though? Like, where would you put the beginning? I don't know. I'd have to really think about that.
Yeah. I'm guessing.
I mean, it probably would be an Uncle Luke or
I was gonna say Two Live Crew.
Luke would be the guy to ask, early, or it's got to be early 80s.
Ghetto style DJs, all that type of stuff. Yeah. I don't know.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I think the first time we ever heard about anybody from Florida or anything over there was probably Two Live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we're probably like 40 then. Instead of 50.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We're a little younger.
Yeah. Yep. So
that's
that gives you time
the first one I thought of.
Yeah. That gives you time to hire a team, so you don't have to do it all yourself.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think probably, and back before he was Uncle Luke, when he was Luke Skywalker.
Yes.
That was the first.
He's at least the guy to talk to,
Yeah, because he was at the beginning of the whole thing in Florida, at least.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him at one music fest. He came out and did something. So maybe I'll have to ask him.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's
interesting.
It is interesting. I'm always curious about different regions, and I mean, I'm in Pittsburgh, and even downtown, and there was I'm not even sure which organization it was, but they had set up like a Pittsburgh Hip Hop Hall of Fame, like little thing, it had the names of all these artists and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
The other person to talk to.
Oh yeah.
Would be Magic Mike.
Magic Mike. Yep.
Yeah, I remember Magic Mike from Orlando, the Orlando days.
Our buddy. Yeah.
Yep. He's a friend of the show. Yeah.
All the Magic Mike.
Yep. Shout out to Magic Mike.
And the Ozone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any so book of photography, any idea about I was just thinking that you could do a compilation of Ozone articles too, or
I have several things I'm working on that aren't, promo ready, but I will definitely let you guys know when I can put that out there.
Damn it. Sorry. I'm guessing and letting stuff out of the bag. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I definitely need to do some. I have a ton of Ozone content. I definitely need to do something with. So
yeah,
I'm slowly working on all these different, projects and trying to focus on one thing at a time so I can get it done. I have to make myself sit down and be like, stop going to Alaska and stuff.
Do you still have back issues?
I had to think about that. I thought you see, that's how old I am now, because I thought you meant like, does my back hurt? I was like,
oh no. I meant in the magazine.
Not that kind of back issues.
I have back issues, but not a Ozone magazine.
I have both. I have
back issues
and I have back issues. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, the bomb hip hop magazine. I have.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice. Yes, I do have some. I have some back issues. We are actually we have a full collection at the University of Houston. With DJ Screw's vinyl collection is also at the University of Houston, so that's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I have back issues that I need to probably put in some of these archives, and there's actually quite a few. GSU, Georgia State, is about to debut their hip hop archive. Cornell has an archive. Harvard has an archive. There's definitely more than there's one or two that I'm forgetting, but yeah, there's a lot of organizations now that are making an effort to document all this stuff, which I think is great.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I bet there were some money. Now, remember we were talking to Dave Paul, and he was saying his old bomb issues were worth some money. So I bet you.
Well, what did I pay for this? $40?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not the one with the Ice-T interview where he's dissing the source, is it? I was just reading that one.
Ooh, which?
Oh,
I might have that one though. I might have to look that up.
I definitely collect stuff like that. I don't have the bomb because I wasn't,
Well, and we all know why I got it.
Yeah, Yag from front. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm definitely a magazine
for the guys.
collector.
Yeah.
Oh, so am I. I've got hundreds of them in this closet over here.
Do you have Ozones?
No, sadly, no.
Got to track some down.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I actually will now. Yeah, I will. Actually, I think by the time, so when did you say the magazine first came out?
2002 to 2010.
I think around there, the only thing I was really reading was like Elemental. But like I was getting like the source from like 89, you know what I mean? So like, by that time I was probably not into collecting that much.
There's some on eBay. I'm looking here.
How much are they going for, out of curiosity?
Oh, let's see. We got some for $9.99, some for $50. 28. Yeah.
Look at this. This is wacky. Hold on here.
Gonna share the screen, Jennifer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What'd you find? Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
Look. $600 on eBay.
Whoa.
$800 on eBay. $700 on eBay.
Holy smokes.
Oh, I need to
another $800.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Look at this, y'all.
Wow.
Mm. Where'd you say this collection was at in Houston? So I can let me have this one.
Here's $1,000.
Wow.
Oh God.
That's an incarcerated Pimp C.
See, yeah.
Wow.
Boy, if I had that's one cover I look back and say, if I had the camera I have now, it would be so much better. Because I didn't know how to shoot that. I was a rookie photographer back then.
I mean, some of
Part
the
of the
prices
charm, though.
on these, girl.
Yeah, people tend to inflate eBay prices, Not to take away from it. Not saying that, but I know they do that with records.
There's a limited quantity for sure. So
yeah.
What kind of a run were you doing back then?
as far as how many, gosh.
Yeah. You remember?
No. That's a good question. I mean, in the beginning, it wasn't a lot, but it got up to at least 50. I don't remember. I'd have to look. I remember it was expensive. I know that much.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
We had good industry saturation. So when every A&R and DJ is getting the magazine, you're kind of hitting the key people. That's a big part of it, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
We never had the numbers of XXL or Source in terms of like civilian readers, but we definitely had the industry executives and the key people in the industry for sure.
Oh, that's cool. I heard you got dissed by Benzino, so congrats on that. Yeah.
I surely did. Yes, he likes to leave voicemails for people and test them out. There's actually a whole collection, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole long story. Do we want to?
Yeah, only if you want to. You don't have to.
He called me a slut monkey, which I actually thought was like the funniest thing I've ever heard.
What?
That's Orlando. Nick?
Yes, Orlando.
Wow.
Ozone.
Nick came in late to the show.
Yeah, the Source didn't pay me for some stuff. I didn't know they were on the verge of bankruptcy. They actually bounced a check on me.
Wow.
And I was like feeling some kind of way about that. Saw Dave in Miami, and I said, "Hey, I've been calling accounts payable or receivable, whatever, for a year and a half. Am I going to get paid?" And he like blew some smoke in my direction and walked in the club.
Yeah.
And I think it was that. I think it was just the timing of it. I was finishing an issue that weekend, and I was feeling some kind of way about that interaction. And the talk of the industry was that Ray was like, Benzino was running the Source, and Dave was just doing his bidding. And this wasn't really. I didn't really have much interaction with them. I didn't know them well or anything. I was kind of just repeating what other people said. So I said this in the magazine. I said he was, extortionist of the year or something like that. I felt like I was being journalistically responsible because I put a little disclaimer like, I'm saying this because they owe me money.
Right.
And it was something that just, I wrote it. And then when you publish a magazine, you write something and it takes 6 weeks before it even reaches anyone. So I had completely forgotten about this whole thing. And it's just like midnight one night, I get home and my phone rings with an unknown number. And this guy's like, "Fuck you, you bitch." And hangs up. I'm just like, well, then I get another call from another number. And so the first call was Dave, apparently. And then the second call is Benzino. Is like, this was like a hour and a half conversation of him kind of like throwing out any possible insult that you could think of. Like, I remember the first thing he was like, you're such a fat bitch. And I was like, I weighed maybe 120 pounds. And I was like, I'm like,
try again.
Because like, and the only thing he said that kind of got to me was like, he said, I'm going to grab next time I see you, I'm going to grab your camera and smash it in your face. Cause I was had my camera. And that's when I was like, oh, like this, maybe he's really going to do something to me. But it was this hour and a half long conversation. And I'm running around the house trying to find a recorder because I had no way of recording this conversation. So I'm telling my friend DJ Quest about it later. He pops on the AOL Instant Messenger and I'm like, you won't believe like what just happened to me. And he's like, damn, I wish you had recorded it. I put it on my mixtape. So I go to the office like, the next day or whatever, and I'm playing the office voicemail, and he had left the voicemail before he got my cell phone number. So I sent it to Quest. I'm like, here, you wanted something for your mixtape. So he sends it to the core DJs, Tony Neal, and Tony blasts it to like their whole mailing list. And I think Funkmaster Flex was like already had a problem with Benzino, and so next thing I know is like Funkmaster Flex is like, I need you to call into the show. I need you to cry. I need you to sound very recognized. And it turned into a whole thing. But that is the story of my voicemail from Benzino. And then it was part of Kim Osorio's lawsuit. They subpoenaed me to like demonstrate how he treats women or whatever. And
Wow. Damn.
Holy
good times. Good times.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people.
Yeah.
Are you being sarcastic? Or?
Yes, totally.
Absolutely.
Totally being sarcastic.
Well, you can see in the current era, I mean, he obviously has some kind of anger management issues because if you just look him up on like TMZ, it's like, cussing out a flight attendant, cussing out a police officer. Yeah. So, I'm definitely not alone. But for me, it was never personal. It never really, I always just thought it was hilarious. Like I can't listen to it.
Well, starting out the conversation being called a fat bitch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he called me a slut monkey. We used to have this thing in the magazine called Groupie Confessions, where it was like girls that were like I can't 100% say it was true, but it was like there was some validity. It would be like, okay, we saw her leaving the club with this rapper. It's probably true kind of thing. So there was a story some girl told about him like eating her ass or something like that. So, on the voicemail, he's like, you just wish you could get your ass licked. And people who heard this thing are like, what is he talking about?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's my Benzino story. But I mean, this definitely went viral. Like this would have been like 2007, maybe 6. So this is like before this like went viral before like Twitter and all that stuff was really a thing. So I just remember going to I went to Denmark with Trey Songz. We did like this little Europe run when he was kind of starting out, and I took always brought magazines, so I took the DJ like an Ozone magazine, and he didn't speak any English, so we're trying to have like this little, sign language conversation. And he like when he saw the Ozone, he did like this, and then he goes, "You slut monkey!" Like, so it was from like a publicity standpoint, it kind of worked for me. I mean, it wouldn't have been the path I chose, but
right, yeah. Oh.
Damn.
Wow.
Oh, amazing.
So shout out to Benzino. Thank you for the
right. Thank you, I guess.
Well, it's like any other, and Elliot had kind of low-key dissed us one time in his editorial, and I sent that to the distributor that had turned me down and was like, look, you're one of your top-selling newsstand, titles is acknowledging us. So, and then we got distribution. So I don't know if that was what did it, but it, probably helped. But it's it's like a rap battle. Like when you acknowledge someone, you're kind of bringing them up to your level. So
sure,
if you own this, huge magazine, you're the #1 selling hip hop publication, and you're like leaving angry voicemails for the publisher of this like little upstart, like I'm a nobody comparatively, but like you're bringing me up to your level in terms of publicity and promotion. So.
You struck a nerve.
You gotta. It definitely did strike a nerve.
Julia, anything you want to let everybody know about what you got going on right now?
Like I said, I've got a few projects. I wish I could like say, this is coming out, but I don't have solid, info yet. But I'm definitely working on a few things that are going to be big, and social media. Julia Beverly on Instagram, and don't really do the Twitter thing anymore, but most social media platforms, Julia Beverly is my tag. You can definitely follow me, and I'll be posting all my new and exciting adventures, whether I'm, climbing a mountain or something, or doing some rap stuff. So.
And she's writing a book on Benzino as we speak.
Right. The voicemails of Benzino. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Julia. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, anytime.
Nice
You
to
know,
meet you all.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Yep. Everybody, Julia Beverly.
Yay!
Okay, take care. There we go.
Man.
I know, right? Good stuff.
I think I just added another word to my
What, slut monkey?
slut monkey. Yeah.
That's
Wow.
that's the best lyric Ray Benzino ever wrote.
Slut
Right
monkey.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So yes, It's C-Doc again, real quick, is brought to you by Hackensack Brewing and the Spit Slam Record Label Group.
Ooga.
The Spit Slam Record Label Group, a Chuck D situation. Catch us on your favorite streaming platform, on Bandcamp, or visit our official web store at spitslamrecords.com. All releases are available digitally or on CD, with select titles available on vinyl and cassette. The Spit Slam Record Label Group. Throwback to the future sound.
Yes, indeed. And also, I want to give a shout out on this day in 2005, Public Enemy dropped New World Odor. Yeah, which I'm bringing this up because it was a very important record for me personally, as I produced track 15, Superman's Black in the Building. My first
Black.
big
Now, black. Superman, black. Now. That joint, it's one of my all-time favorites.
really.
Yeah, hell yeah. That is epic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Epic.
I think it's still the longest PE song in their catalog. I think.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have the one with the DVD? I don't.
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now you got him perplexed.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. I gotta find one. I gotta find one too. I don't have one.
I have that one.
You do not.
On tape.
Yeah, on tape.
On cassette. Yeah. So that was 2005. Shout out New World Odor.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Mara was in the music video. That's right. Yep.
Mm,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
She has a cameo.
All right.
Yeah. As we wrap things up, you can catch Jennifer and Ultramag. Oh wait, I'm going out of order. Okay, so you can catch me and Flatline along with Mr. Chuck D every Friday night for the Angie Don't Stop radio show on Rap Station and Mixcloud. I don't know why I always get that wrong, but
That's
I
cool.
always I was like can't remember. But yes, Angie Don't Stop radio show. And I have the Spit Slam Jam of the Week, play music released by the Spit Slam Record Label Group. You can catch Jennifer, Jenny, and Ultramag along with DJ Soul Buck every Sunday for the mixtape, where they play music from our upcoming guests. And who is our upcoming guest next week?
Well, oddly enough, wherever Chuck D is, ask and you shall receive. The guest for next week is one Mr. Matthew McDaniel.
Matthew McDaniel will be stopping by and going to talk a lot about his
the ridiculous archive that he has.
His ridiculous West Coast hip hop archives.
Not just West Coast.
Oh, just
Don't get it twisted.
Okay, sorry, my bad. But he was
Maybe
LA based, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Maybe we'll get some Jennifer Jenny stories.
Dun, dun, dun.
It depends. If I stare him down long enough, he might shut his mouth. Yes, Vashon, Matthew McDaniel. You know who that is.
Yep. Yeah. So thank you to everyone watching tonight, everybody watching on the replay. Also, stay here on Zero because right now, Behind the Bars with JD is going to be live with a new episode. And we will see everybody else next week on another episode of It's Back Again.